Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Doing a rapid fire this week, so let's hit it.
Hey, I'm Michael Block from the Republic. I'm doing a story about your mom.
I'm terrible at first dates. I just don't know whether to be vulnerable, aloof, funny.
Why don't you just be yourself?
How are you supposed to know if you want to spend forever with someone?
I want to try to be together.
It's not practical.
I'm not trying to be practical. I want to be with you.
Damn. And I'm usually all for romance films. It's kind of boring and by the numbers for what it is. I will say that the acting is definitely not the problem. Lakeith Stanfield and Issa Rae have enough charm to keep certain scenes lively. The boredom isn't consistent, it's just more abundant. The primary issue is that it's forgettable. What's the plot? Guy meets girl days after breaking up with his longest-running girlfriend. Their romance is rushed after having known each other for just a few days or weeks. The passage of time isn't always made clear. And the only real conflict that they face is whether or not Michael will take his new job in London or stay to be with May. A conflict that doesn't appear until toward the end of the second act. To pad out the story, we have flashbacks to when May's mother was a younger woman and gave up on a great romance, which is supposed to be thematically linked to the romance between Michael and May, some other contrived links between the two characters that made you think God had something to do with it, or bullshit writing. It's just not up to snuff with some of the other great romances that exist. The only thing I want out of this movie is a fan theory that somehow links this movie to Get Out, as both Stanfield and Lil Rel Howery were in the Jordan Peele Darling. It's a serviceable date movie at best, but if that's your baggage, then by all means, go for it. It's certainly worse movies have been made, but it's definitely going to go in one ear and out the other. My honest rating for The Photograph, a 3 out of 5.
I'm Sonic, a little ball of super energy in an extremely handsome package. I am living my best life on Earth.
Mr. Dr. Robotnik, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to tell me where it is.
Wait, don't hurt them. They're coming for me. If they steal my power, they could conquer the universe. You have to help me.
No, I don't.
Please, it's life or death. This is my power, and I'm using it to protect my friends. Let's go! Let's go!
I'm not saying it's good, but I'm not saying that I hated it either. Make no mistake, this is for sure a 90s movie. It's yet another cartoon character comes to the real world and shenanigans, learning the power of friendship and family and what have you. It's truly nothing special. It's still in the same vein as The Smurfs, Fat Albert, and Masters of the Universe, so you know that's not a great sign. Still, as far as nothing special is concerned, it's still a surprisingly fun flick. I mean, it's no Enchanted, but it's still got a few decent moments. Ben Schwartz as Sonic has charm. Jim Carrey's performance is certainly a nice throwback to his 90s performances, probably his best in years. I think my favorite scene has to be with Tika Sumpter's character, Maddie, and her sister, who ends up getting tied up to prevent from being a problem to the point where even her own child ignores her mom demanding to be untied. I admit that got a huge laugh out of me. Yes, it'll segue into unimportant story moments, rips off that Quicksilver scene from X-Men Days of Future Past twice, and introduces pretty big-name actors only to sideline them forever, never to be seen again. Overall, it's a kids movie, but there is some joy to be had if you set your expectations pretty low. With that said, Moving Picture Company, your sacrifice is not in vain. I appreciate your redesign. It made for a far more engaging film, and I seriously hope the lot of you land on your feet. As for the rest of us, yeah, take your kids to see some junk food cinema. should hold them over until Pixar's Onward. My honest rating for Sonic the Hedgehog, a strong 3 out of 5.
Je suis peintre. Vous allez devoir la peindre sans qu'elle le sache. Elle pense que vous êtes une compagne de promenade pour quelques jours.
Que savez-vous de mon futur mariage?
Rien.
C'est tout ce que j'en sais aussi.
J'ai un nouveau sentiment. Le regret. Quel en est le titre?
Portrait de la jeune fille en feu.
You're welcome, 2020. You got your next blue as the warmest color. Okay, to satisfy you horn dogs, yes. This movie has a couple of ladies making out, and you occasionally see some boobies and bush. But to confuse those boners, I'm gonna let you know that these ladies are all natural, in that they have hair everywhere. Arms, pits, everything. Yeah, the French are more artistically evolved than we are. Fuck you and your boners, man. Sidelining everything mentioned, Lady on Fire is a beautiful period romance. What I adore about this story is how slow the relationship builds up, from awkward and even cold to full-on passion. These women have no idea what to make of each other when they first meet, and even we, the audience, don't quite know what to make of Heloise, as the first thing she does is sprint toward a cliff, only to stop at its ledge, presumably where her sister jumped and committed suicide, only to say that she dreamt of running. Alright, crazy broad, calm down. Even once the two ladies get to know each other and Marianne's true purpose is revealed to Heloise, tension isn't exactly eased, as there's some very venomous passive aggression from Heloise, and the two women even challenge each other through their powers of perception of each other. It's so well written that I couldn't even begin to do it justice. But when the relationship kicks off, it's very sweet, engaging, and a little heartbreaking knowing what fate awaits Heloise. I may not understand why Marianne is seeing a ghostly vision of Heloise. I definitely don't know why we watch a character have an abortion and have an ironic baby laying next to her face as the procedure is happening. And I will definitely say that the last minute or two are not entirely necessary. But all in all, I really adore this movie. Incredible and powerful acting from the two main leads, a fair share of charm and even cuteness. This is definitely a must-see for the year. My honest rating for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, a 5 out of 5.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Rurik. Let me officially welcome you to Fantasy Island.
I'm curious how this all works.
What if your fantasy involves a person from your life?
Holograms, like Tupac.
That is a really good hologram.
Oh my god, that's really her. Rourke, this is not what I meant.
What the hell is this place?
People die here.
Ah yes, the dark and scary origin story of the classic 70s TV show that the fans were obviously asking for. At long last, they can relax. It sucks. But in kind of an enjoyably stupid way. While certainly not the so bad it's entertaining joyride that I was hoping for, it did tread those waters. I was legit curious to see how all of this would be resolved and just how everyone's fantasies would be turned upside down. I mean, PG-13, haha, it's never gonna get any kind of gory, and because the violence is certainly toned down, this is where most of the disappointment comes from. But there is a brutality and ridiculousness that kept me from being bored. From time-traveling dead fathers to private detectives having figured everything out and yet having done nothing about it, sudden memories of a child that didn't exist 24 hours ago, rival drug lords trying to take over, and mud ghosts, for lack of better ways to phrase it. It's pure nonsense. While it sounds entertainingly bad on paper, the execution almost takes itself a little too seriously. There are scenes that are surprisingly dramatic and heartfelt, so the tone is constantly assassinated, especially when you know there's a dumbass scene either with a half-crazed Michael Rooker or half-naked women right around the corner. Overall, it's dumb, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I saw this on some bottom list by the end of the year. But I didn't exactly go in with the highest of expectations. It's certainly not as fun as I was hoping for, but I was far from bored. My honest rating for Fantasy Island, a strong 3 out of 5.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Like it was gonna kill us.
For a moment.
Pete?
Wow.
And I look over at Pete, and he had grabbed his phone. Pete left us.
I didn't leave you to be buried. I'm gonna win. I ran to get help. Yes, I'm gonna win.
That's not what happened.
How did I get my hopes up for this? To be fair, this is the first time in likely over a decade where I've seen Will Ferrell act like a normal person rather than a live-action cartoon character who isn't funny. That was the big appeal for me. The problem is, while it conducts itself like a dramedy, a man who's having an existential crisis, everyone is making the wrong-ass choices. For all intents and purposes, Pete and Billy have a happy marriage, but somehow she never truly confronts Pete about his actions during the avalanche. It's just a bunch of bitterness, accusations, and even light cheating. I know that would essentially defeat the purpose of the movie, but this does have some mature themes that otherwise would have made this dramedy a little unique, especially for Ferrell. The only true saving grace is that the acting is otherwise not bad. Ferrell is fine for the material he's given, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is really good, and Miranda Otto is definitely my favorite character as this raunchy, hypersexual owner of the hotel, but otherwise, many scenes drag out and even descend into uncomfortable territory. Overall, the comedy falls flat most of the time, the drama is too dramatic, I can't believe I just said that about a Will Ferrell movie, and it's just an utter disappointment. Not recommended. My honest rating for Downhill, a weak 3 out of 5.
What hasn't been done, she will do. What has been done, she will do better.
It is so stupid to think that you can run for First Lady.
It looks like you have a second chance. You should take it.
She doesn't know the whole truth. She thinks that I am something I am not.
What the hell was this movie? Was this something that was pitched to the Disney Channel but was deemed too mature for kids? Because it really feels like that. It's a PG-rated political movie. Who the hell was this meant for? In fact, what even is this movie about? I have to ask because I don't think the movie itself knows. It looks like it's about a woman who wants to run for the position of First Lady, but she achieves this in about 5 minutes. Then it's about an old British fop who wants to play this game of will she recognize me pretty much throughout the entire story. Then it's about the First Lady trying to suppress a riot outside, playing matchmaker with the current president that she's not married to, with a woman who has about 2 minutes worth of screen time. Then it's about a political rival Valley woman who wants to make the First Lady look bad. Then something about proper education.
Quiet. Please, make it stop.
Holy God, pick a story and roll with it. Hell, the old British fop only hatches this idea to see her after her husband died. Seriously, it's kind of sleazy. Its PG rating almost implies that it's meant for kids, but kids are easily gonna get bored with this. If it's actually intended for adults, then it fails in that too, because I was bored with this. Not that I'm politically savvy to begin with, but ugh. Even when I wasn't, it's because it was needlessly dark. Seriously, one of the opening scenes was of the President of the United States dying on screen from a heart attack. I reiterate my very first sentence. What the hell was this movie? No, not recommended. For anyone. My honest rating for First Lady, a 2 out of 5.
There isn't a moment I won't be there with you. Any particular style today, madam?
I had this feeling that if I can get through it all, it would somehow change me. I don't think it has. I don't think I want it to.
I'm not a crybaby, you're a crybaby! It's damn good. Oh yeah, it's a tearjerker, but it tackles the subject matter with tenderness and honesty. The movie has an abundance of charm and humor, none of which feel out of place and perfectly timed. But more importantly, it's not afraid to show how scary a situation like this is for all parties involved. There's plenty of quiet moments of introspective thoughts, blame and lashing out, stress, desperation. It hits all the right notes at exactly the right time. I suppose if I had to nitpick any negatives, I'd say when Tom and Joan have a big fight, there's never any real resolution to it. It just cuts to the next scene where everything goes back to normal and are throwing quips around. I suppose one could argue that this is supposed to show that these kinds of fights are never personal, it's just fear taking hold of both people and they're lashing out. But I feel like making up and apologizing to each other is an important part in these situations too. Not that I have experience in it, so we can chalk this up to personal taste. And I'm not entirely sure I agree with the inclusion of the couple having a dead daughter. It just feels like a needless kick to the nads, in addition to the emotional beating we're already taking with Joan. Overall, I really like it. It made me cry, it made me laugh, and it ended the best way possible that I could have asked for. If you're okay with emotionally driven films, with great acting from Liam Neeson and Leslie Manville, then you're in for a rough but rewarding journey. Just, don't forget your box of tissues. My honest rating for Ordinary Love, a strong 4 out of 5.
Shaun's back, but there's a new arrival in town who's a little alien.
Lula.
Farmageddon, a Shaun the Sheep movie.
It's so cute! Aardman strikes again. So I have to ask, why didn't this get a theatrical run? I'd have totally paid money for this or used an A-list reservation. Like most Aardman movies, it doesn't exactly feature knee-slapping humor, but it makes up for it for having an overload of charm and adorableness. As always, Shaun and his sheep are so likable, and it's easy to get wrapped up in their antics and how they try to cause harmless mischief and drive Bitzer crazy with his rules of what they can or can't do. Some of them are understandable, but others are just him being a jerk. But here's where I fall in love. The impossibly adorable Lula the alien. I can see a lot of cynics out there saying that all this movie is a fish out of water story with Lula eating everything and mimicking noises, but if you're gonna do this trope, it's in no better hands than this stop-motion company. Sure, the humor's mostly for kids, but there's nothing inherently childish about it. It's a simple movie, as most Aardman stories tend to be. It's just too likable to be dismissed. It has some fun little twists that really pull you into the characters. Granted, one of them is revealed a little late in the story, but it works and makes for a sweet resolution. Overall, if you're a fan of Shaun the Sheep, Aardman, or really anything cute and adorable, then I highly recommend checking this out on Netflix. It's great for kids, great for adults. It's a wonderful way to pass 90 minutes. My honest rating for a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, a A strong 4 out of 5.
Воевали вместе. Дылду комиссовали после контузии, а я осталась и на Берлин. Где Пашка? Где мой Пашка?
Для производства жизни у вас ничего не оставили.
What the hell was this movie? Yeah, that. Usually I celebrate fucked up movies, but this was extraordinarily confusing and really off-putting to watch. Was this story supposed to be symbolic of something? I mean, it basically opens on Aya accidentally killing her son, Pashka, by smothering him. I was okay with accepting that she was in shock, explaining her lack of emotional reaction, like crying or screaming, but even when Masha figures out that he died, her reaction is, let's go dancing and fuck a pair of strange dudes, all while she has a smile on her face. Not long after, she finds out that due to a shrapnel wound in her stomach, she can't have children. So due to Aya's transgressions, guilt trips her into having sex with a man to birth a new child, effectively replacing Pashka with a new one. I'm barely paraphrasing. She literally says that she'll get a new one. What the fuck am I watching? The insanity doesn't end there, but to cover it all would require way too much time, and I have to move on to my next project. But the directing is so off that the acting never seems to match the emotions that this situation would incite. Make no mistake, the acting is fantastic from the main leads whose names are,
Well, I'm not even gonna attempt that.
but it's their one and only credit, and all things considered, I hope to see more of them in the future. Maybe there's a few scenes that weirdly work out, especially in the last few minutes of the movie, but I have no idea what I was supposed to take away from all this. Overall, I say this is way above my level of comprehension. Watch at your own risk. My honest rating for Beanpole, a weak 3 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching it, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon.